Hello, sports fans, and welcome back to Sports on the Spot. My name is Willie Charger, and today I'm going to be joined by Nick James, and later on, Lenny and Ronnie will be here to give us their lowdown and rundown on the sports world. We even have a special guest lined up for later on the show. We'll get back to that. A lot of stuff going on in the sports world over this past weekend. Too many games and too many events to recount. Nick, does anything stand out to you looking back on what happened yesterday over the weekend?
Yeah, Willie, there was a lot of great football to be played. It's probably one of the most fun Sundays I remember. But the big takeaway was Justin Herbert and the Chargers taking down the Chiefs. I can't believe it. Well, I can believe it, but I just didn't know what to do with myself after that game. I was so excited. How'd you feel about that, Willie?
I was very, very happy about the game. It was very stressful. It went back and forth. I want to save my thoughts on the game to the main segment, but yeah, that was really great. One of the best Charger wins in years.
What'd you take away from the weekend, Willie?
Well, lost in the euphoria of the Chargers' big win in Kansas City was the Padres being eliminated from Major League Baseball postseason consideration. They lost to the Braves on Sunday, and that pretty much ended their season. Um, I'm here to make a brief obituary about the Padres. I have to man up and say, yeah, I was talking pretty bold about them in July and August when they were right in the thick of things. But it seemed that after the All-Star break, things just went south and they were never able to recover. They got all kinds of issues that they have to deal with. Too many to recount right here, but I just had to mention that I won't be talking about the Padres until 2022. So on that note, let's get a little cheerful and send it over to Lenny. Take it away, Lenny.
A couple weeks ago, I talked about how people choose which teams they're going to support. This week, I want to talk about when they support those teams. What do I mean? Well, you've probably heard the term fair weather fan. I've never understood why that term is used as a pejorative. I mean, I'm a fair weather fan. For me and others who live in a mild climate, what choice do I even have? I couldn't be an inclement weather fan if I tried. Is it my fault that we don't have a lot of cold and rain? It just doesn't make any sense. So I dug a little deeper to see what other scholars have to say on the matter. I used an academic research tool called the World Wide Web, which is used for getting accurate information, and learned something very interesting. Did you know that the term fair weather fan has another meaning that has nothing to do with weather? That's right. It turns out that the term also refers to the type of person who only roots for their team when the team is winning. Well, I read that and I thought, you know what? I'm that kind of fair weather fan too. And why would I not be? Just think about it. We watch sports because we want to enjoy the thrill of victory, not endure the agony of defeat. When my team loses, it makes me feel bad. So why would I want to dedicate my valuable time to something that makes me feel bad? Having said that, it'd be unrealistic and unfair to my team to jump ship as soon as they lose one game. That's why my formula is to abandon my team after 2 consecutive losses. That represents a streak or a trend in the opposite direction of my happiness. I'll also bail on my team if they're not in first place. I mean, nobody likes number 2, am I right?
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
But giving up on a team doesn't mean I'm giving up on happiness. Why? Well, because I can simply jump onto another bandwagon. I own a cap for every team. You want to maximize your enjoyment of sports? It's easy. Just get out from under those dark clouds and go where the sun shines.
Well, thanks for that, Lenny. I've had my share of experiences with fair weather fans, and it hasn't always been a happy scene. I want to spend some time talking about some of the controversy regarding clock management over the weekend NFL games. There seemed to be some criticism of how some of these coaches were handling the end of the half and end of the game clock situation. I'm going to let Nick talk about this, but I just want to say that lost in this big controversy was how the umpires, the refs, really weren't paying too much attention to the clock. And especially when you look at that Lions game, where that guy kicked that 67-yard field goal or wherever it was, a record. Well, the play clock had already run out on that, and I think that the Lions got hosed by the ref. Clearly, the clock had run down to 0, and then a second later, then they snapped the ball, and of course, the Ravens kicker is a hero, and they all run off the field. That was, I thought, overlooked this whole clock issue. But Nick, give me some more insight on what this whole controversy is all about.
Yeah, I only saw that play on the highlights. I was too busy watching some of these other games. As much as I was excited about the Chargers winning, I just couldn't believe how they managed the last 4.5 minutes of the game. Yeah, they get a big chunk play with about 4.5, 5 minutes left. And then it's like they have just a score mentality. Yeah, touchdowns are hard to come by. And they ended up settling for a field goal, but they barely burned any time off the clock there, which proved to be a bad decision because, of course, the Chiefs come down and score. Luckily, the Chargers were able to come back down again and then still give Pat Mahomes 32 seconds. And it's just crazy that until that last second ticked off the clock, I was fearful for my life that we were somehow going to lose that game.
A lot was made, in fact, too much was made of the clock management by the Chargers at the end of that game. I told you the other day that I was just happy that they even got a touchdown in the red zone. They've been pretty pathetic in that in recent games, and however they scored and when they scored, I was okay with it. I knew that Mahomes is definitely going to be a threat with 32 seconds to play, but I was willing to give my defense one final shot at holding it for the clock as the clock ran out. So I don't know. I don't have to really go on. There was another thing in the 49ers game that was brought up. What was that all about?
Yeah, you have the 49ers with this awesome rushing attack and high-powered offense, and they're coming back in this game. And, you think, same thing with the Chargers, leaving Aaron Rodgers 32 seconds. He had no timeouts. It's, the Niners defense a little bit better than the Chargers or the Chiefs. But it was just crazy to think, like, they had a few opportunities to milk a few seconds left off that clock, and they just totally – Aaron Rodgers comes big in Aaron Rodgers fashion. There's no way other to put it.
That was pretty amazing at the very end, how the Packers were able to just get down there so quickly and line up for that kick. Yeah, I think the 49ers, especially when they had the ball, could have run the clock down a little bit further before they snapped the ball. I saw this one where Garoppolo got the ball, like there was 12 seconds on the play clock. And yeah, that was one case where I think they might have just scored a little too soon. So
yeah,
they have to learn from that.
And Matt LaFleur must have felt really good getting that Kyle Shanahan victory, coming from that coaching pedigree. So another little bonus right there on top.
Yeah, it's the end of the game where you really have to be paying attention to what's going on, and you have the coaches that are going to be able to make the plays. Guys like Belichick and stuff like that, they never mess up at the end of the game as far as clock management goes. We'll see what happens in the other games this upcoming weekend, but we'll have to leave it now. We'll come back and talk more later. All right, well, we are back, and we are going to be now joined by Ronnie and our guest, Tyler, who's here to give us some insight on his views. Tyler is a big Washington football fan. He's been around the sports world himself. I won't say too much about Tyler. I'll let him do all the talking. Tyler, what are your thoughts about the big Charger game this weekend that Nick and I are so excited about?
How's it going, Willie? And thanks for having me. Been following you guys ever since you guys started this podcast. First and foremost, congratulations. You guys are 3-0 since I don't even know when. You guys look
2-1.
Or 2-1. That's right.
Barely lost to the Cowboys.
That's right.
It's a win in my book.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Funny you say that is because Willie, you've been calling the NFC East the NFC least, and I think that's got to stop after that Chargers loss, right?
Well, yes and no. The Chargers lost to a pretty good NFC East team. I don't think that they lost to Washington, and they still have a chance to play against those mighty, Philadelphia Eagles. So,
and the Giants.
Oh, of course, the even mightier New York Giants.
There's one good team. Just because there's one good team in the NFC East, I still consider it the worst division in football, and that's coming from a Giants fan. So, unfortunately, I had high hopes for the Redskins, and they're not looking too good. I thought Heineke or whatever his name is was going to be a little bit better, but it looks like the Cowboys are going to run away with that division.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
the Cowboys are pretty stacked this year. I think Dak coming back and he's just having a tremendous year throwing the ball. But we'll see. We'll see how the Redskins finish out. I think we have a great offense this year. If we can get our quarterback situation going a little bit, our defense needs to step up its game as any other NFC East team does. But back
Yo,
to the
Tyler.
Chargers.
Yeah, back to the Chargers, man.
Let's get
We're
back
not
to
here
the
to talk about the NFC East. Chargers came off a big win, and you had something to say this weekend.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a good win. You guys played great. Mike Williams played great. 2 touchdowns, about 120 yards. Keenan Allen also had another touchdown with that.
2 best receivers in the NFL.
Yeah, that's
Heard it here first.
I mean, I could see that for sure. Then again, I honestly, the Chiefs are good. Don't get me wrong, but really, the Chiefs should be 0-3. They're a bad punt away or a good punt away from being 0-3, and celebrating this win. It puts you almost at the top of the division, but at the same time, I think the Chargers haven't really played anyone that great. Along with the Cowboys, they're decent. I think they'll make the playoffs this year, but as far as this game, you guys did play good. I'll give you credit, but at the same time, I just don't think the Chargers are going to do it this year.
Let's see. The Chargers barely lose to the Cowboys. They lose by a field goal. They smoke Washington. They come in a little late to take the lead there and secure that. And then they beat the Chiefs, who people were talking about going 17-0. Chargers are 9th in passing yards, or 4th in passing yards per game, and they're 9th in overall yards per game. Their defense is only allowing 3 more yards than the Rams, 3 less yards than the Rams, and they're 8th in pass yards per game as well. So they're doing pretty good. They're able to contain these high octane teams. Like, they held the Cowboys to 20 points, and they just crushed the Eagles last night.
I mean, I also would add that they have a young quarterback that knows how to win games. And I think that going forward, that's what you want to have at the helm. Someone who knows when it comes down to crunch time that it's winning time. And so far, Herbert, 4 straight wins in the AFC West. That's pretty good going back to last season. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. I don't know about Tyler's negative prediction about the Chargers, though. I think that they have a pretty good chance of making the playoffs, especially since we have an expanded playoff format this year, 17 games. I mean, we already have 2, so let's see what happens.
Yeah, I guess we'll do. I mean, it's a long season ahead. This is only week 3 we're talking about. Everyone's still, getting the dust off the shoulder pads, especially Kansas City. I think you guys really didn't play the real Chiefs that we all know and we're predicted to see this year. So we'll see how the Chargers season plays out. As far as that, we'll see how.
I would have to agree with Tyler on that. I don't think the Chiefs, looking at them right now, are definitely a juggernaut. I don't think that right now they're going to be the team coming out of the AFC West. But right now, I think it's going to be either the Raiders or the Chargers, and we're going to find out Monday night when they play just who's going to be the front-running team. But yeah, I think that the Chiefs might be on a little bit of a downward.
Yeah, true. I also think Patrick Mahomes tried to do too much, throwing picks, on a no-look pass. It's you guys just kind of got, the great end of the stick on that one. Usually he makes those throws and it's on ESPN for about 2 months and I have to watch it. So, luckily you find out he was human this week. But next time you guys meet, I'm sure you'll have a different story to tell me.
And Justin did make those throws. As an unbiased, not allegiant to the Chargers or the Washington, Ron, what did you think of the game?
Which game?
The Chargers and the Chiefs. It sounded like you were hopping in.
I didn't watch it, but I was going to say Tyler makes a good point about the Chiefs and Mahomes. I think the defense has never been great and getting worse and worse. And with that, there's just increasingly more pressure on Mahomes to do more. And, obviously the quarterback is the most important position in the NFL, but one guy can only do so much. So I think we are starting to see, maybe some exposure here for the Chiefs. And to the Chargers' credit, and yeah, it is only 3 games. I really don't care about like the numbers or the standings. The Chiefs are still going to win 10 games at least, but the Chargers are a more complete team on paper. They have an offense and they have a defense. Herbert's no Tom Brady, but as far as the makeup of the team, kind of has like a Buccaneers feel. So there's definitely some optimism for the Chargers. So that will be an interesting division race.
Well, let's end this conversation on an optimistic note. And I wanted to thank Tyler for joining us today. He had some really good insights. Not always ones I agreed with, but others were kind of good too. So thanks a lot, Tyler. And that's going to be it for this part of the show. And we'll have to move on.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. It's always a pleasure to talk sports with everyone, and especially people that love sports. I'm gonna end it on a high note for me. Let's go Dodgers. We got a series with the Padres coming up that doesn't really matter much except for our pennant race. And I'll just leave it on.
Well, they can only be spoilers now.
Let's spoil it. Let's spoil it.
All right, guys. Thank you for having me.
All right, see you. I know you have more to talk about the NFL, Ron. So let's just take it straight to your Ronnie rundown.
All right, here we go. Back at it again. Week 3 was pretty good. I mean, look, I totally botched the Ravens pick. I thought they were going to blow the Lions out, but we hit on the Packers, we hit on the Cowboys, 2-1 on the week, and we're 5-4 on the season, so we're looking pretty good. Let's keep it going here. Let's try to go 3-0. So, picks for this week. I didn't even realize till after thinking about it, we're going all AFC West this week. Oddly enough, we've been talking about that. The Chargers this, Chiefs that. Anyways, I like the Chiefs -7 at the Eagles. The Chiefs are going to be fine. They haven't been playing great. They're going to be fine. I'm not saying they're winning the Super Bowl or anything, but they're going to be fine. They're going to win games. I like a -7 at the Eagles. I'm also going to go Colts +2 at Miami. I think the Colts have a good defense, and Miami's got Jacoby Brissett. So Vinny Valvucci's actually been down in Miami for a little bit. He said last week he went to this club. Brissett was there. He was like guest bartender or something, buying everybody drinks, and he's tossing people the beers, and they're just going way over his head. So I don't know if I can trust that. So give me the Colts +2, and then Monday Night Football, I'm going to go Chargers -3.5 against the Raiders. Chargers are looking good. I hate to be on this Chargers fanboy vibe here, but they're looking good. Herbert's going to be a legitimate quarterback. He's going to be a big game quarterback, and we just love watching these young quarterbacks light it up. And the Chargers feel to me like a very complete team, as we talked about, compared to the Chiefs. Chiefs are very offense heavy. The defense stinks. Chargers got talent on both sides of the ball. They're a complete team. They can win some games. And so at home, not that they have much of a home field advantage, unfortunately, which is kind of sad. You like to see some home fans go to the Chargers games. But Monday Night Football, Chargers -3.5 against the Raiders in a huge division matchup. So give me the points there as well. So let's try to go 3-0, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Well, we had a huge viewership this last week and a mailbag to boot. It's so this week we're going to make a little change, and we're going to tackle 2 questions because there were so many. The first one is from a viewer, Sean, and he asks, are we going to get the same kind of analysis for the Lakers this season? Sure hope so. Are we going to keep him happy, guys?
Very much so. I can't wait to start talking about the Lakers. They open up the preseason this upcoming Sunday. We're going to hear so much Lakers. You're going to get sick of hearing us talking about the Lakers. They're looking at their 18th championship. They got a new guy, Russell Westbrook, AD, the LBJ, easy championship this year.
I'm already sick of it.
Yeah, this sounds excruciating. I mean, I don't know why this is going to be any different than any other super team. I mean, the Nets are a perfect example. I don't know, man. These guys with these I will say I love Russ. He's one of my favorite personalities in sports, but you gotta just wait and see how these guys are gonna mesh. So I'm not too confident.
Yeah. My answer to Sean's question is yes. All right, let's move on to the second question from Tyler, who just joined us a few minutes ago. And Tyler asked, after last week's game, do you think Deshaun Jackson will be a viable fantasy pickup moving forward? Guys?
I think he's going to be a boomer bust kind of player. He had 3 or 4 points week 1, 0 points week 2, and then yeah, he got a lot of points last week, but it was like 120 yards on 3 catches and a touchdown. That's not the kind of performance you can really count on week to week. If he had 10 targets, maybe, but it was 5 targets, 3 receptions. If he doesn't catch that long bomb, he's 2 for 20? That's like 4 points. I wouldn't put him in your lineup unless you're as desperate as me, who I need some receivers in one of my teams really bad, but I wouldn't recommend it for most of you. What do you think, Ron?
I would say he's only a viable option if you're in a non-PPR points per reception league. Because, yeah, he's a deep threat. He's a big play guy. So any game he could break off for like a 70-yard touchdown. But if you count on him to get targets and catches, it's just not going to happen, especially with guys like Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. And, I mean, Stafford's got so many options now. It seems like he's just making everybody better. So, which is probably why we're talking about Deshaun Jackson, because Stafford's making him look good. But the speed's there, but yeah, probably not a great option.
Well, I could talk about fantasy football for hours, but we are out of time, and so we're going to have to wrap it up for this week's show. Wanted to thank all of our viewers for watching the show, remembering and reminding people to like and comment, subscribe to the show if they have an opportunity. Any Sports on the Spots questions you have can be submitted to the Sports on the Spot show at gmail.com, or else, like Sean did, just ask the question in the little box in our YouTube channel. So thanks a lot to everybody for the show, and we'll see you all next time.
Unbelievable.